Ring ring.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Daisy. I'm sorry, am I speaking with Bruce?
Yeah, you said Daisy?
Yes, my name is Daisy. How are you doing?
Fine. You?
Oh, that's good to hear. Good. Well, I'm actually calling because I work alongside the county and we're helping out families who might be going through probate. I just would like to make sure, are you related with Mrs. Sandra Smith?
Yeah, that was my mom. You work for the county?
Yeah, we work alongside the county. Actually, I'm working with a probate specialist and at the same time a realtor. But we actually focuses on properties that's in the estate, and so that's what I am actually trying to call about.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I know it shows here, if I'm not mistaken, that you are the executor or the personal representative of her estate. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Now, we would like to ask once the probate is done, or I don't know if kind of have decided if you're considering to sell the property or might be keeping that for a while.
Um, I really don't know. My sister's living there right now, and she was kind of taking care of mom during the last couple of months. So I
Mhm.
really kind of have to talk to my sister and the rest of the family before we decide what we're gonna do.
Oh, definitely. That I absolutely understand, and that makes sense. Now, um, well, if it would be helpful for you and also with your sister and the rest of the family, I can go ahead and ask my partner. Her name is Lisa, and maybe we can come up with, an offer and share it to you, and that can also be part of your, decision making. As I mean, what I'm trying to say is that at least if you would share this information to her, then at least you do also have a data or information that would also help you as you try to decide if
Okay.
that's okay.
Um, I mean, yeah, I guess that'd be okay.
Okay, that's perfect. Now, what will be the best time of the week my manager can call you back? Is that during weekdays or weekends?
Um, Normally, after work during the week is good.
Okay, all right. Will that be after 5 p.m.?
Yeah, no, I get off work at like 5:30 to 6 o'clock. Normally, I probably need 30 minutes to get home before I can really talk. So maybe just sometime after 6:30 most days.
Oh, sure, that's perfect. And I also would like to make sure this number that I'm calling would still be a good callback number, right? Ending in 3465.
Yeah, yeah, this is good.
Okay. Now, I just would like to make sure that I also have the correct property address here. That is 123 Main Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
All right. Okay. That's perfect. Now, I would go ahead then and send this information to my partner Elisa. But I don't know if you might be aware because you mentioned that it was your sister who was living with your mom. Would there be any property conditions or maybe improvements made within the last 5 years, maybe?
No, I don't think we've really done anything. I don't think it needs anything though. But we really haven't made any updates recently.
Okay.
No.
All right. And um, no mortgage, or is it free and clear?
No, there's a mortgage. I wish it was free and clear. Right now, I don't know what we owe. I'd have to go look, but there's a mortgage.
Okay. All right. That's totally fine. I'll just have to add this one here so I can inform Lisa about it. Nonetheless, I really do appreciate your time, Bruce, and please do expect the call from Elisa at your most on our schedule.
Okay. That sounds good. All right.
All right, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Good. Good job. Um, so taking a couple of notes, mostly pretty small things. There's one big thing. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but one big thing, and it's kind of an overall category.
Mhm.
But before I get to that, let me touch on a few of the small things. So you and every other VA all do this. You use the expression considering to sell. So considering
Mm,
to sell. And that just is um, it might actually be correct English. But I've never heard an American use that expression. So I
oh,
would say
okay.
considering a sale. So considering a sale, or have you considered selling? One of those two, considering a sale or have you considered selling.
Mhm,
Considering to sell is the only clue that I would have that you don't live in the States, because
mhm,
your accent is very neutral. You could pass for someone that has lived here for most of your life. It's a minor accent.
mm.
But when you say something like considering to sell, people go, oh, yeah, you don't live here. Okay. So just change
I
that
understand.
small little thing. So you talked about your partner, and then a little bit later, you talked about your manager. So don't mix that up. If you talk about a
Okay.
manager in the beginning, keep the expression manager. I don't really like talking about a manager though, or boss. Manager
Oh,
and boss are kind of culturally things that, even though we have managers and bosses here,
mhm,
someone normally that you're talking to, they're going to want to deal with someone with some influence. They for whoever they're talking to be in a place of authority. And if they kind of realize that, oh yeah, you're not really in a place of authority, they might treat you differently. So
mhm,
I would rather you refer to the agent or the investor that you work with as your partner or team leader.
mm,
Team leader's totally fine. Big difference between a boss and a team leader. It's the same
mhm.
thing, but it's a big difference in the mind of the person that you're talking about. So I kind of prefer either partner or team leader. And then once you've mentioned them, don't go back and refer to them later as your boss or manager. Just keep the same expression. Um, I, I would like you to confirm the address a little bit earlier. So, have you guys given any consideration to selling? There's another way to say the considering to sell. Have you given any consideration to selling? Yeah, and just to make sure, we're talking about the property on 123 Main Street. Is that the address that your mother was living in? Yes. Was there any other property that is involved in the estate? Okay, so I want to ask that, but I want to confirm that address a little bit earlier. You confirmed it at the
Mhm.
very, very end, and I'd like to get it up front a little bit
Yes,
sooner, just to make
that's
sure that
great.
we're talking about the right place. I you asked about a mortgage, and I said there was a mortgage,
Mhm,
and I kind of said, hey, I don't know what it is. This is where I would do a follow up question, and this is a follow up question that's not on any list anywhere.
mhm,
So you wouldn't necessarily know to do this, but I really like to ask follow-ups behind certain questions that I've asked. So here's where I probably would have said, okay, there's equity in the property, right? So yeah, there's a mortgage. I don't know what it is. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. That I get that a lot. There is equity in the property, right? So that's kind of a good sort of
mhm,
follow-up to see what you're dealing with, especially if they don't know what the mortgage is. Okay. Um, so those are some minor things that I would change. The major thing that I would change, and this is not a single, there's not a single incident here, but there were a couple of times when you were explaining something that got a little bit, it was a little bit unclear, and I want to kind of work on a few of those things where you start to explain something or you start to ask a long question that could be a 2 sentence question and you make it into a paragraph question. And it happened about twice.
mm,
That I think is honestly might be where you lose some people that you aren't that you're currently losing, that maybe you don't know that you're losing,
mm,
but you are. and um they're probably still going to hang out, but anytime I'm making a statement or asking a question, I try to shrink it down into as simple and a short question or explanation as I can. um and I don't even really know exactly which questions or which statements you were making, because I'm not, this is going to sound totally rude. It's not rude. You lost me. And
Mhm.
if you lost me, you lose the prospect.
Yeah, I
Because
understand.
I tried to kind of get a hold of what you were asking, and it just kind of, with my ADHD brain, I didn't get it. Okay. So go back and listen and be like, okay, where did I get a little bit vague and unclear? And how could I rephrase that the next time I ask that question or make that statement into something that's more simple?
Mm,
One of the things that I do or did, especially when I was creating scripts, is I would write the script out and then I'd go read it with a voice recorder, and then I'd look at how long it took. And you would be really surprised at the things that I was saying that I was like, oh, yeah, this is simple and clear. And I'd look at that statement that I made, and it would take me a minute to make the statement. And I'd be like, wow, I don't think it was very clear because it took a
mhm,
minute to explain. So I try to take any of those things that get a little bit long and try to go, okay, how can I say that differently next time where I can get it out in like 10 seconds or 15 seconds instead of 30? And that'll make
mhm,
a big difference on your calls. Um, Otherwise, maybe a few follow-up questions here and there. But just re-listen to the role play and go, okay, this is where I got a little bit too long. The rest of it was really good. Honestly, the four things that I gave you were nothing. I mean, they're good things to change, but they're really not gonna hurt a phone call.
mm.
I think the only thing that's gonna hurt is when you got a little bit long-winded. Do you guys have that expression, long-winded?
No,
No, long-winded.
no,
It basically just means that you get like you talk too long. We use
no.
it in church all the time. Oh yeah, that preacher was long-winded.
Oh.
Just means they talked too long.
Mhm,
So anytime you're a little bit long-winded, think about how you can shorten that up a little bit and make it a little bit more clear. And the only way to do that is to re-listen and figure out
mhm.
where you got too long and say, oh, okay, how can I say that a little better next time? Okay.